and welcome back to the farm. If you're new here, my name is Nina. I'm a homeschooling, homesteading mom of 4, ages 9 down to 4. And here on my channel, I talk all about homeschooling, homesteading, and homemaking. Today's video is a little bit of a different one. I am giving you our oldest child's birthday video and birth story video. I'm also going to show you what we got him for his birthday. I have waited till the last minute to film this video. It is the day before his birthday, so just ignore all the stuff behind me. Laundry, real life, hashtag real life here. And the reason why I have waited till the last minute to do this video, this pregnancy and birth story is a difficult one for me to share. We had some complications in his delivery. And I haven't really shared that with anybody that doesn't know me personally. So I'm struggling with that. So I will probably break down and cry in this video, just forewarning. And if you are a first-time mom and watching this, just know it has a happy ending. I'm still here. He's here. But there are some complications that happened in our birth story that I am going to talk about and I'm going to share about that could worry you or scare you. And I don't want to do that. That is not the reason why I'm sharing that. My heart in sharing our birth story and struggles with this birth is because I went into childbirth and pregnancy, and dog scared me. I have Jameson's present right here and I'm like, oh, don't see it. I went into getting pregnant and childbirth as thinking that it was easy, that it's just a natural part of life, which it is, but it doesn't happen the same for everyone, and it's not all as easy as I naively thought it was going to be growing up. And we knew very quickly, right after we got married, that we did not want to wait terribly long in order to have kids. We knew that we wanted to start trying to have children fairly quickly. I think we waited like 6 months or so. I was on birth control, and so when I came off of birth control, it threw my body into a tailspin. And I was having irregular periods, and it was just I kind of wish I had never gone on birth control, because birth control does not like my body. It's not like that for everybody. It is like that for me. It does not make me nice. And it makes my body just wig out. So coming off of that, I was having a hard time kind of getting everything back in regular. So I was going to see my doctor, and then we knew that we were gonna start trying to have children fairly quickly after that. So fast forward a couple of years, we still had not had gotten pregnant, and it actually took us 3 years to get pregnant with Jameson. Just there was no reason. It was unexplained, and we did not get the peace from the Lord that we were praying for that would allow us to move forward, and a bunch of testing and IVF and all of that, and IUI, all of those things that can be used to help you get pregnant. Not that any of those are bad. We just personally did not feel that peace from the Lord that was saying, yes, do this now. Every time I would try to take a step forward, I would feel the nudge, like the pullback of like God going, not yet, not yet. I don't have that for you yet. We did do some testing early on of just like the generic like hormone test, and Daniel went and had some testing done. But it, like I said, we just never felt that peace to move forward. My gynecologist was not also an OB, so we knew eventually we were going to have to switch no matter what. So we switched doctors, found an amazing group of doctors. And I remember I saw the PA the very first time I went for my yearly visit, and she's like, honey, it's been 3 years. I think we need to do a little bit more. It's okay. So we would decided that we would go ahead and take the first steps of doing a little more extensive testing. So we had a date to go back in for testing, and like right before Christmas. So anyway, they had called me and told me that my that there was something up with my pap smear, and so I was going to need to be on antibiotics for a little while. So I started not feeling well after, like, I was on antibiotics for, I think it's like almost 2 weeks. And I started not feeling well while I was on that, which is not anything strange for me. I just, because antibiotics don't do well with my body either. Medication does not set well with me. It all makes me feel sick. So I didn't think anything of it. We went to my mom's for Christmas, and Daniel just made a comment, well, maybe on the way home we should grab a pregnancy test. And I was like, why? The millions of ones we've taken before now have all been negative. I don't want to do that. And so he kept nudging me, like, I think we need to stop. And so we stopped at a store on the way home. My mom lives 2 hours away from us. So we stopped on the way home, grabbed one, because I was like, I don't want anybody to see me grab one in a store where we're at and then have to be like, no, it was negative. I didn't want to have to go through that. After going through 3 years of infertility, anybody that has done that knows the emotional toll that it takes on you. And I just gotten to a point to where I was done. I had just given it to God. I'm finished. I don't want to do this anymore. I cannot mentally just keep going through and getting the negative test over and over again. So I was like, I don't want to. I have nothing to do it. He's like, please just. And I was already a few days late. When it was a Sunday night, so we picked up the test up on Sunday night. I took it early Monday morning at like 4 in the morning, and lo and behold, that thing was positive. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And I didn't believe it at first, so I took the other one, and it was positive too. And so, of course, I was too excited. I had to wake Daniel up and tell him that we were expecting. So we were both wide awake at 4 o'clock in the morning, and he's like, so what do we do now? And I was like, I have no idea, but I have to call the doctor today, which I was planning on doing anyway, because the test that I was going for was the test that you have to do at a certain day in your cycle. And so since I hadn't started yet, it was going to throw that off. So I was already planning on calling the doctor anyway. And I said, well, I guess I have to call the doctor now and tell him we won't be there today, because the day that we found out that we were pregnant with Jameson was the same day that I was supposed to start those more extensive tests. So it was just awesome how God works on that. I had a great pregnancy with him. My pregnancy does very well for my body. It makes me a lot nicer. I handle it very well. I know not everybody does that. I didn't really get sick with him. I didn't have anxiousness, which I've struggled with in the past. So it kind of like flipped everything for me. And pregnancy went really well. At my 20-week appointment is when they told me that I had a low-lying placenta. And first time pregnancy, I didn't really think anything of it. I was like, okay. And they were like, 90% of them move out of the way. We're not worried. So I went back for another ultrasound. It still hadn't moved. It was still there. So I think that was like around 30-ish weeks or so. And they were like, we want to refer you to a specialist to see how birth can go, if you're gonna have to have a C-section or if you can have a natural birth. I had already gone through all of the Bradley birth method classes. So if you know anything about that, that is natural childbirth, no medication, just the way it was intended for it to be, I guess, with no intervention, is what I was planning to do. It sounds stupid, sounds crazy, but I am more afraid of needles being stuck in me than I am pain. I can deal with pain as long as I know there's an end to it. And with childbirth, there is an end to it. So I can just deal with it. So we went to that specialist, and also I forgot to mention that we were building a house during the process of my pregnancy. So we were hoping to have the house built and finished, because we were doing most of the interior finishing work ourselves. Me, Daniel, and my parents and family members were helping us. And so we were hoping to have all of that done so that we could move in before Jameson was due in August. And it wasn't happening. We were having setback after setback. And then we go to the specialist appointment, and they were like, it's not moved, and it's too close to your cervix for us to allow you to have a natural birth. You're gonna have to have a C-section, and we recommend that happen as soon as possible, as soon as you can. I was 36 weeks, so they could not do it until the next week. They were like, you do not need to go into labor You don't need to start dilating, because if you do, you will start bleeding. I broke down on the doctor. My mom had to explain to him, because he's looking at me like I have 3 heads, and my mom has to explain to him, like, they're in the process of building a house. The house isn't done. And I was like, okay, God, you give me my dream of having a child, yet why does it have to be so hard? You know? See, I told you I was going to start crying. Why does it have to be so hard? It's not perfect the way I want it, but life isn't perfect. Nothing about life is perfect. But anyway, so we go back to our doctor, and we sit down and have a conversation with him. They had transferred us over from the midwife side to seeing an actual doctor for the C-section, and one of the midwives that I had been seeing was going to be with us, so that made me feel a little more comfortable, as I'm like, I am seeing a doctor I've never met a week before I have surgery, so that's awesome. But we sat down and had a really good conversation with him. So we decided that we would schedule a C-section on my husband's birthday, which is July 31st. So that would have been, I would have been 37 weeks and I think 2 days. So we went ahead and moved forward with that. The doctor felt very great with that, with as strong as his heartbeat was and how all of his tests had gone. They were very comfortable with doing that. We didn't want to have to just wait in limbo of, like, what if something happens. We felt more comfortable with just go ahead and scheduling. If we're going to do this, might as well just go ahead and schedule it before anything happened. So that was the plan. That was set in stone. That's not what happened. So they were just like, go home and prepare. We'll see y'all early Tuesday morning. So we had told all our family. Our family was set up for that. So Monday, my husband had planned with my brother to go to Baldwin, which is a city in North Georgia, to get our air conditioning unit for our house. He's like, I'm already off. Might as well just go ahead and go get it. I need to do it anyway. So I was fine. There was no reason for him to hang around with me. I was just going to pack our bags and kind of do some laundry and get some things tied up around the house. He left at like 7:30, I think, that morning, and then I woke up about 8 or so, and I went to the bathroom and I was bleeding. And if you know anything about having placenta previa, bleeding is not a good thing, especially that late in pregnancy. So I immediately called I called Daniel first, which I should have called the doctor. That would have been more smart. I called Daniel first, told him, and luckily him and my brother had stopped in Athens, which is the city that we were delivering in, and I ate at Waffle House. So they were there. I told him to sit tight. I'm calling the doctor. So I called the doctor. Of course, he had to call me back because he was seeing a patient. So he immediately called me back after that. So I called the doctor. Then I called my mom and asked her if she was at her house. She's all over the place, so you never know where she's going to be. So she came over in the process of me being on the phone with the doctor. Of course, I'm freaking out at this moment because they had already told me if I saw any blood to please call them. And I'm at home by myself. And so I called them. They called me back and said, all right, well, we're going to schedule you for a C-section today. We're going to go ahead and do a C-section today. I know we had it scheduled for tomorrow. We're going to go ahead and do that today. So come on in. He said, I don't think there's any reason for you to rush, but don't linger. And I was like, okay. I said, well, I got to coordinate people because I'm here by myself. So Mom had already come over. She helped me finish packing up the bags. So we're headed to the hospital. Daniel and my brother meet us there at the hospital. They get me all checked. They checked me, and I wasn't bleeding as bad as they had expected me to. I had no idea. They said blood, I come. So they weren't bleeding as bad as they expected me to. So they pushed us off until the last C-section, which was right about lunchtime. That gave all of our family time to get to the hospital. Daniel's grandparents, my grandparents, our parents were all there. We had some aunt and uncles kind of come that were in this town and to check on us and how everything was going. So we thought, okay, we're in the hospital, we're fine, we're safe. The doctor come in and talked to us about the procedure. Of course, I was scared to death because I knew I was going to have this needle stuck in my back that I was not planning on. But I mean, we had planned on it, but I had like a week to wrap my mind around it. And they come and got us and said, all right, it's time to go. And of course, I have to go back by myself. And anybody that knows me and my family knows that I have white coat syndrome. I do not like doctors. No offense if any of y'all are doctors. They make me very nervous. I don't like to be poked and prodded and all of that stuff. But the fact that I was going to have to go back to the operating room completely by myself scared the bejeebies out of me. I did not like it. And of course, they said that it would be about 20 minutes before Daniel was brought back, if they had to get me all prepped and all that stuff. But they had brought Daniel in, and they did the family style of C-section where they lower the drape and let you see the baby come out. And so that was neat because we wanted that experience as much as possible as we could. He cried. Everything was awesome with him. Daniel, after they took him over to the little area where they clean up the baby and weigh him and all that stuff, Daniel went over and did all that. And I remember the anesthesiologist sitting at my head when Daniel left, and he said, if you feel anything funny, I think he told me that at the beginning, if you feel anything funny, I need to be the first person to know something. I'm in charge of this room, not the doctor. I am in charge of this room. And I said, okay, yes, sir. I'll let you know as soon as if there's anything to be worried about. So I remember telling him, I don't feel so good. And I didn't, it was just a weird feeling. I felt kind of squirrely headed and nauseous. And I mean, they had me split completely open. And so I didn't really think anything of it. And he's like, oh, okay. And Daniel had come back, and they had brought Jameson, and was laying Jameson on my chest and all. And Daniel tells the story. Of course, I don't remember much of it. This is the point that starts getting very fuzzy for me. I went in and out a lot. But Daniel said he looked down at the anesthesiologist, and he said at that point the anesthesiologist was just filling my IV full of stuff. He said, I don't have a clue what it was, but he was just one tube after another. Apparently my blood pressure was dropping, and I was coding on the table. And we didn't know that, but the doctor later told us that he performed a procedure on me that he doesn't have to perform but every couple of years. My uterus would not clamp down to stop the bleeding, so I was hemorrhaging. He said I lost a liter of blood in the operating room, and they thought that they had me stable enough to take me to recovery later after that. So they took me to recovery, and I was still bleeding. And I remember them getting the nurse going and getting the doctor, and the doctor being like, she wasn't doing this when she left me a few minutes ago. And I remember the nurse looking, I felt very weird, and I didn't know what it was, but I just remember feeling very weird and just being like, okay, I don't know what's going on. At that point, Jameson and Daniel were in the nursery doing the things that they do in the nursery, and I was by myself completely. And I remember the nurse asking her, mumbling and asking her what was going on. And she looked at me and said, whatever you do, don't close your eyes. Focus on me. Keep your eyes open. And I was like, okay. And I could see my numbers. My heart rate was through the roof, and my blood pressure was dropping. And I remember asking her, what's the matter? And she said, you're hemorrhaging. We've got to stop the bleeding. And I asked her, and I, during all of this, I mean, it was probably split seconds, but I just was like, what happens if it doesn't? And she said, you'll have to have a hysterectomy. No mention of you can die or anything like that. But Daniel said that, he said they had brought him back hoping that the baby being in the same room would, kind of revive me and all. But they were able to get the bleeding to stop, but I lost a ton of blood. And so they were very worried about if I was going to make it or not. And Jameson was born at 2:40 in the afternoon, and this was like 5 or 6 in the afternoon. My parents and our family still had not seen the I think they saw him roll down the hallway, but they still haven't been able to see me or the baby. And so my family is freaking out, wanting to know what's going on. I think Daniel was left the room to kind of go tell them what was happening, what he knew what was happening, because they weren't really telling him anything. And at that time, I was in and out. I don't remember much of that afternoon. It was very fuzzy. I do remember trying to breastfeed Jameson, but I was very, very weak. Like, they were having to help me hold him because I couldn't hold him. I was so weak. They ended up giving me 2.5 units of blood, I think, and a transfusion to kind of help build me back up. But, and I remember my dad busting through the room at one point and wanting to know what was going on. And I looked at him and I was like, I'm fine. And he's like, no, you're not. I was as white as a sheet. And so that's pretty much how his birth went. I think we finally got transferred to recovery about 9 o'clock that night. So it had been 7 hours from the time he was born. It was about 9:30. From the 7 hours that I was in recovery, that they were trying to, make sure I was stable enough to be moved to my room. I still, on the way to our room, got sick and was throwing up. I was very nauseous, I guess from my blood pressure dropping so much. But I couldn't really hold him. I couldn't really do a whole lot because I was so weak. And I do realize that that story could have gone a lot different. And I'm very thankful that God, he has something for me here on this earth, because I'm still here. And I know that could have gone a completely different direction. So all the could have beens rolled through my mind. That next week of Daniel could have been raising his son by himself. But we knew later, if that had happened, that Liliana, Amelia, and Benjamin would not have been here if I had not made it through it. But I hope that doesn't upset anybody, but that's his birth story. That's how Jameson got here. So he is the one that I prayed for to make me a mom, and he is the one that we had a lot of struggle with birth, and it was touch and go there for a while. But anyway, hopefully I can pull myself together, and on a little more of a happier note, I'm going to show you guys what we got him for his birthday. The little sneakers sitting outside the door, so I'm going to have to be kind of whisper and let you know what we got him. But he is, like I said, he's into survival things a lot, and he is into camping. So a few months ago, we were actually in Greenville on my birthday trip, and we went to Cabela's, and we got him a hammock. So it's a double hammock. I figure it's big enough for all the kids to get into. This was about $49 and some change, so $50. And it comes with all the things. It'll hold up to 1 or 2 people up to 400 pounds. It comes with all the straps included to hang it up. And as you can see there, it's got the hammock and the straps to go around trees or whatever you need it. It is a 10-foot 6-inch by 6 feet 6 inches hammock. I'll link it below, but that's what he is getting from us for our birthday. We have about a $50 budget for our kids, and I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but for our kids, that's plenty. We're in a small house right now, and so this is something that he can use outdoors. He can use over at the new property that we have, and also, just it can be, if it hangs around and is durable, we'll have it for years to come. So anyway, Jameson, I just want you to know how much that you mean to me and your dad. We love you very much, buddy. You are the kid that started this parenthood journey for us, and we just could not be even any more grateful for you. And we are completely blessed to be your parents. We are thankful that God allowed you to be ours for a short time. And we know that you will grow into a wonderful human being that is caring, loving, and has so much to offer to the world. So Thank you guys so much for joining me on today's video. As you can tell, the kids are going crazy. I gotta get back out there, but I'm so grateful for those of you that continue to come back week after week. I know this video was a little heavy, and it is probably not one of the ones that is one of the best filmed ones but I ever did, but it's raw to us. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and we'll catch you in another video very soon.